Now we'll talk a little bit about the Windows Recovery Environment, or also known as Windows RE. Now, the Windows Recovery Environment is a lean operating system that can be launched to solve Windows startup problems after other tools available on your Advanced Boot Options menu have failed to solve the problem. It provides you a graphical and command line interface. Now, if you're using like Windows 7, you can launch Windows Recovery Environment from the Windows Setup DVD if you have that available. Windows RE is installed on the hard drive and available on the Advanced Boot Options menu. In addition, you can create a Windows 7 system repair disk and use it to launch the Windows Recovery Environment. As you see, you have the ability, if you're already in the Windows operating system, to use the backup and restore to create a system repair disk to use instead of a Windows Setup DVD. As you can see from this image of the system recovery options, there are several recovery tools in the Windows Recovery Environment for use, and this one is from a Windows 7 view here. First one to look at is the Startup Repair. Now, this option is the least intrusive of the tools. It does not change any user data or any of the installed applications on a system and can sometimes fix a startup problem, including those that are caused by a corrupted or possibly missing system file. You can't cause any additional problems by using it, and it's easy to use. Now, if you're going to use the Startup Repair tool, just simply click on the Startup Repair link there and it will launch this tool to examine your system for errors. Now, based on what it finds, it will suggest various solutions, and one of those might be a system restore. If it cannot fix the problem, you will get a dialog box that appears that says that it cannot fix it, and do you want to send the information about the problem, which is what Microsoft recommends, or you can obviously just choose the option to not send any information and just move on. Now, if it does find some issues, Startup Repair will make some repairs, and it will then prompt you to suggest to you to do a reboot of your system to see if everything was fixed. And you can obviously choose that and then go from there, and hopefully the Windows tool has made the corrections that you need for a successful system startup. Now, maybe you have done some troubleshooting and you believe that memory might be the issue. Well, if that's the case, you can run your Windows Memory Diagnostic tool here to possibly fix some of those issues, or maybe you find that you have a corrupted memory module. We also have System Restore as an option here, and obviously this will restore your Microsoft Windows operating system to an earlier point in time based on your restore points that have been set up. Now, this option can sometimes fix a problem with a corrupted device driver or a corrupted Windows setting, or possibly even a corrupted program that you've installed. Now, this will not affect any of your actual saved user data. Now, for the most least intrusive change, you can select the most recent restore point and then work your way backwards from there. We also have the command prompt option, which is going to open up your elevated command prompt window here. Now, if you suspect that the hard drive is corrupted, use this option for the command prompt option to open a command prompt, and then use your check disk command and use your /R parameter to check the hard drive for all those errors. You can also use other commands in the command prompt window to restore a corrupted registry from a backup. So there's lots of options as you have anytime you use the command prompt. And then last resort time, if none of that works, we have the System Image Recovery option here. Now, this tool is going to use a previously created system image to restore the entire Windows volume to that image. Now, be aware that everything on the Windows volume will be erased and replaced with a system image. So before you use this option, make every attempt to recover from the hard drive any data files that you have not yet backed up. If you recall, the system image is created and updated using the backup and restore window. Also know that your organization might use a standard image or some type of deployment image rather than a system image to record a failed Windows operating system volume. Now it's important to know and to determine where in the boot process the failure occurred. So we'll really just focus on these three startup stages of boot. Stage 1, which is before the Windows flag, or if you're using like an older system such as Vista, before that progress bar. Now when you see the flag or the progress bar appear, you know the Windows kernel, which includes all those critical services and drivers, has completely loaded. Any problems that occur before this graphic appears, before that splash screen, are most likely related to a corrupt or missing system file or some type of hardware. So your best Windows tools to use for these problems are the Startup, Repair, and System Restore. Now stage 2, this is after the flag or the splash screen, or as if Vista, the progress bar, and before your login. Now after the flag appears, user mode services and drivers are loaded, and then the login screen appears. Now problems with these components can best be solved using your Startup Repair, the last no good configuration, System Restore, Safe Mode, Device Manager, and using your msconfig tool. The other stage for the boot process is after the login. Now after the login screen appears, problems can be caused by startup scripts, applications set to launch at startup, and desktop settings. So if this is the case, use msconfig to temporarily disable any type of startup programs. You can also use safe mode here. It could be really useful as well. So those are the three stages: before the Windows splash screen, after the splash screen but before you actually log in, and stage 3 is after you've put in your login credentials. Let's take a deeper look into some troubleshooting when it comes to stage 1. As I said, this may be problems that are caused by your hardware or your startup files. So one thing you might see is, alright, is the screen blank? Nothing's appearing on the screen, so this is obviously before I see that splash screen. Well, check your monitor. Is the light lit on the monitor showing that it has power? Well, maybe you need to reboot. Maybe you need to check that if your monitor has power. And if that is on, then we need to go from there. Now let's say the monitor LED light is not lit. Verify that your system has power and that, as silly as it may sound, is the monitor plugged in? Does it have all the connections made? If your screen is blank, maybe and our monitor seems fine. Uh-oh, it might be a hard drive issue. If we're using an old hard disk, see if it's spinning. Listen to it. See if you can hear it spinning. Maybe it's not getting enough power to it. Verify that you're not in standby or hibernation mode. If you still suspect it might be a monitor, swap that out with a good one to see if that might be the case. Now if you're using a laptop and you don't see the screen on, find a monitor, plug it into your display port on your laptop, whether it's VGA, HDMI, or what, and see if maybe it's a problem with your LCD screen because you're getting displayed to the other monitor. Now if you can hear that hard drive spinning, or you see the lights on the front of your computer or on your laptop that shows that there's activity on your hard drive, then maybe it's not your hard drive. But if you suspect it could be, maybe it needs reseated. Maybe, if you don't hear it, try reseating the hard drive or plugging it back in. Maybe it's the power going from the motherboard to the hard drive's not good. You have lots of options there to check. Check your video card. If you hear that your hard drive's spinning, you see the lights on the computer that your hard drive is active, but you're still not seeing that. Make sure before you swap out a monitor that your video cable's plugged in on your video card and that your video card is fully seated. So just the two basic things to look for there: your monitor or your display and your hard drive. Alright, now let's take a look at problems at stage 2. This is after that flag or progress bar appears and before you actually log in with your credentials. Now if you see the flag and everything, you know that the Windows kernel has loaded successfully and critical drivers and services configured to be started by the kernel are running as needed. You also know that your session manager is running in user mode and started the Windows 32 subsystem necessary to provide graphics for the Flagger process bar. Now, if you don't see these and the login screen has not yet appeared, most likely the problem is caused by a corrupted driver or a service that is started after the kernel has finished its part of the boot process. Your general attack plan here should be to fix the problem and to isolate and disable the Windows component, service, or some type of application. Well, that's great. I figured out what the problem is. Well, how do I fix it? Well, that's where we use our safe mode. So just go in and use your advanced boot options and go into safe mode. Run any antivirus you might need to run. Reinstall, the Windows component. Run check disk, /R to check and repair the hard drive. And, check your event viewer, whatever you need to do. But safe mode is where you want to fix this issue at. There is a reason why Microsoft builds in all of these tools to help us with these startup issues, so make sure you use them. And now stage 3, which is where we have problems after the Windows login. Problems that occur after the user logs into a Windows operating system are caused by applications or services configured to launch at the startup. Now, programs can be set to launch at startup by placing their shortcuts in startup folders, by scheduling tasks, or by software installation processes that affect the registry entries. Now, if you see an error message at startup that gives you a clue as to which service or program is at fault, test your theory by using the msconfig tool to disable that program at startup. And you can also disable all non-Microsoft services and programs and enable them one at a time as I described earlier.